My name is Reimo Võsa-Tangsoo. I'm an artist and associate professor in Department of Photography here in Estonia Art Academy of Arts. So, my artworks gravitate towards different themes and topics, but some of these are quite usually universal for me. One of these is translation from one language to another. Other is about power and politics. And third is about interactivity and play. I start with one project I made 4 years ago in our project room. It was it had a quite obscure name. Inside brackets 1 and 2, kind of referring to, I don't know, a court of tennis. And it's a sound art piece. It sounds something like this. And it doesn't make sense right now because it's a spatial sound in 4 speakers. And being in the room, you can understand where the sound is coming from. So it is actual tennis playing. Unfortunately, they edited endless loop, 11 minutes or something like that. And one of the starting points for this exhibition, the exhibition was partly homage to Michelangelo Antonioni's Blow Up. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend to see the film. It's a really cool thriller. And especially in the film, there is a small scene it's a scene in the end of the film, and it is quite good. I don't know what it is. A good allegory to playing and games in general. In every game, there are and also the topic of computer games. The thing I didn't advertise when I was making the exhibition and then also showing the exhibition was another reference point to the exhibition, which was this one. Most probably you recognize okay. Mimes playing imaginary tennis is already quite abstract. There are so many leaps of faith you have to take to believe that it is something actual happening. But still, outsider, a photographer, a person who deals with, who is interested in field of art, but still who deals with kind of reality, is immersed into the imaginary play so much that he goes and throws back imagine ball to the mimes. So there is a question: what is real, what is not, and the step to this one is even larger. It's something that happens in original form on CRT monitors. It was in the arcade cabinet, but also it was one of the first actually successful consoles sold in wider public for personal use. The console didn't have anything else than this game. Okay, there was a version where there were 3 games, but actually there was the same game in different versions. And when you start to play the game, you go inside the game world and start to believe or pretend to believe that it is real what is happening. You kind of are one of the tennis players here, despite the fact it doesn't resemble tennis at all. This is kind of starting point for next works I made. So visually, there is nothing to see. There is something to see. There are two umpire chairs facing each other, but because of the Ars project room, in the middle of the room is a large pillar, and so you can't face the other umpire on the other side of the court. There are so many impossibilities in this work. You are in the middle of tennis play, you can't see it, you can only hear. You can understand where the ball is, or at least where the hitter is, tennis player is, but it's visually it is not a really exciting exhibition. But at that time, I started to think about computer games in general, or more like more specifically about computer games, because I have a history with computer games. I'm fascinated by these for several reasons, and I have a particular taste about computer games. For me, the most interesting are open world type games with role-playing elements, and mostly story-driven games. And then I compare these games to entertainment and maybe kind of cinema, interactive cinema. And again, one of the things that is interesting for me is the question of reality, what is real and what is not. But also the question of time and perception of time, because usually computer games have different time scale than actual world. There are different reasons for that, and sometimes it is justified that you have a day and night cycle, and it makes a difference for this how you play or what you can experience. But sometimes it is just arbitrary. It's just a change in cycle, so it resembles a kind of reality without actually being real. Few examples what I mean if I talk about reality and conventionality or yeah, let's say conventionality. Actually, I don't have a good translation to English because what I mean by conventionality is in Estonian tinglikkus. Kui miski on tinglik, märgiline mingis mõttes. Okay, maybe okay, sign is also not the right word in English, but okay, let's use convention. Okay, good. Thank you. For example, maybe you know this game called Red Dead Redemption 2. A quite famous game, quite well received game. Had a really good reception. One of the things that was admired was how realistic it looked. One of the one of the critiques towards the game was crunch, and also the fact that part of the crunch went into seemingly unimportant things, how the hair of the horses looks, how the barrel of a gun looks, or something like that. How the balls of the horse look. And playing the game, you actually don't notice these kind of things. It's fascinating for the first 15 minutes, but after that, when you are inside the story, it doesn't have a meaning, or not so big meaning. Story-wise, I still think it's one of the worst stories I have encountered. But it's a good horse riding simulator. And in other end, or another, I don't know, part of the scale is Superhot, and maybe especially Superhot VR. But there are polygonal humanoid, or okay, let's say polygonal anthropomorphic enemies. Time doesn't move if you don't move. Time moves only when you move. It is quite intense, and at some point you don't even notice that the room is white. Everything is white except your enemies and the weapons you can use. It's not real. It most definitely is not real. But playing the game, you are so in the game that you don't even notice it, especially in VR, because after one quite long and hard battle, I saw a table in front of me and then decided to lean on the table that didn't exist at all. So it doesn't matter how real something is inside the game. And at the same time, is it more real if I sit behind the same computer and use spreadsheet for work? Everything is unreal in a sense. Okay. In Haapsalu, I had an exhibition together with Martin Buchmann. Martin is alumni of Department of Photography and Masters of Contemporary Art. He's also using computer games quite a lot in his artworks. But for this exhibition, I made hour-long video. Okay. Without sound, a one-channel video without sound. And most of the video shows how I tried to repair a roof of a small, really small building. what are the different things I have to do, and I actually started before. I actually started with cleaning the old roof, but all the materials. I lost all the materials from that period, so it starts in the middle, and for technical reasons, it ends near the end. It's chronological, but highly intensified through montage. About 50 minutes shows during one summer, one boring job. And about last 10 minutes, I build similar house in Fallout 4. And again, it's quite interesting because in Fallout series, especially newer series, starting from Fallout 3, there is retention to have kind of reality or some lines or some elements of reality. For example, there is a day and night cycle. It doesn't change in game mechanics too much, but it changes visibility. For example, there is weather patterns and different things. And you don't notice that you don't notice the change in time so much in the game. But for me, maybe the moment where I noticed that there is a strange disconnection between actual life and time inside the game was one moment where I was playing quite late in night, and in the game there was also night, and in the game there was rain. And for some odd reason, I looked out of the window and I saw that in actual world there is also night and it also rains. And somehow, for me, it was, I don't know. It broke the game reality for me for 1 minute. The understanding that the similar conditions collide for no reason at all broke the game reality, and then I was aware that it is only a game, it's not reality. Reality made visible unreality of the game. So I wanted to make a work that deals with different time scales. And again, in real world, it took the whole summer to clean up the old roof and then put up the new one. In game, in less than 10 minutes, I built a house together with roof and doors and windows. hour and 2 minutes long video work. Okay, it's not meant to be seen from beginning to end. You can just experience it for a little bit and then leave the gallery if you want. But it is rewarding to take the time and to see what the story is about. Quite many of my artworks are against immediate gratification, against contemporary notion of time and entertainment. As an artist, I can take a position where I am not necessarily an entertainer. But that's another story. And now the latest artwork kind of took its start from the last one. It again starts from Fallout 4, maybe partly from Fallout 76. Okay, Marko Laine made a proposition that maybe I would like to take part in an exhibition he was curating. It was vaguely about computer games, but for some reason we were both fascinated about the world of Fallout. He gave total freedom to do anything I want, so I continued with previous work and concentrated on the time inside the games. So I made a circle with a small train that went round and round. It took exactly 72 minutes to finish the circle. Because the time scale in Fallout 4, okay, in vanilla version of Fallout 4 is 1 to 20. So 1 hour goes in 3 minutes, so 24 hours, 1 day cycle ends in 72 minutes. And during the circle, light changed, and for that I made countless screenshots from Fallout from different locations and took an average RGB values from that. From these values, together with the programmer, we made light. So it is kind of similar to the light during the day cycle in Fallout 4. The train or the vehicle in this installation, in this kinetic installation, it is so slow that it is, if you concentrate enough, you perceive the movement. But again, it takes time, and then if you only, I don't know, peek inside the room for one moment, you don't notice that it moves. Some of the visitors even didn't notice it staying there for 10 minutes, and they thought that the installation doesn't work. It worked. One moment. Where's the mouse? The world of Fallout is a quite strange world because it takes elements from reality, from history, from 50s of the United States of America. It is, if you think about this time, we can describe it as a kind of positive space age. Energy was not a problem. It was the reason why cars were designed bigger and bigger and bigger, squarer and squarer and squarer. To have fins was not about aerodynamics, it was just about looks. To look like a spacecraft. This is one of the elements of design in this game. This kind of 50s like US design, the world. Maybe it is considered to be a golden age in US. After Second World War, okay, if in the Second World War there is a winner, then the winner is United States of America. No one else. Everything was kind of good, or at least so it is perceived in a nostalgic view. Another element from the time was atomic power. And these elements are maybe the most important in the Fallout world. Everything works with atomic power. Even cars are driving with atomic power. And ironically, the world is destroyed by atomic power in the Fallout world. So it's quite strange world that has some points of some references to our reality and our history, but it is totally fictional. There is nothing actual. Maybe some of the some things that are interesting. The main enemy of the US is not Russia. If we think about the actual history, then the confrontation from the 50s is with the Soviet Union. The main enemy is China, communist China in this game. Okay, but these are things that surround the game, and then are, I don't know, introducing us into the world. Every Fallout game has its own atmosphere, and I don't know. Fallout 3 is a bit gold and greenish, bluish greenish. Fallout Las Vegas, Fallout New Vegas is warm, a bit amber, sunny, like has a sunny-like feeling. Fallout 4 was strangely quite realistic in depiction, especially in depiction of colors and overall atmosphere. You know, I think that person who has played these games can kind of relate to the tones I used. Inside the room, there was also one small element that didn't have too much reason to be there. It is partly it is homage to Marko Laimre's work he showed in Tallinn Art Hall exhibition, and the show was called Motor. In the show, he had a large-scale a light box, and in the light box he showed a view through the door into his garage workshop. So this is a kind of homage to it, and it was held on the wall with help of a fridge magnet. Again, who has played Fallout series and especially Fallout 4, then he or she can recognize the figure. And on the other side, there were some tables, like numbers in matrix. And the numbers had actual meaning, because first table described the initial values of the light, and second table showed the actual values of the light. And this is again something it is again referring to Marko Laimre's work in a way, but it's only one piece on the wall, and the only reason to have something on the wall was actually practical. I wanted to have a reason for a viewer to go into the room. So this is the view from the entrance, and the image was in the opposite side, an opposite wall. Because maybe during the time when a viewer walks there, looks at the image, maybe understands that he or she can take the image out of the wall, maybe to look to the other side and walk back. Maybe the light has changed enough. Otherwise, it's just a light on the ceiling. For me personally, the image on the wall was a kind of Easter egg. Again, something that is familiar to people who play games, computer games. Something that refers to the outside world or to other games or to other worlds. It kind of doesn't have a place inside the actual game world or constructed world. But at the same time, it is part of it. Most of Easter eggs are referring to different things at the same time or are reflecting outside of the game world and at the same time inside of the game world and start to put together or are helpful to put together the lore of the game. And if I come back to the question of what kind of games I played, and recently I understood that for me the stories are most important thing. Okay, this I understood quite a long time. The stories are most important for me in art in general, but also in computer games. But maybe not the stories that are told directly, but stories that are told indirectly. Stories that are told through small, unimportant elements. You go through the world, you find a small letter that someone has left behind. Doesn't have actual meaning how you play the game or maybe it's not unrelated. It's not related to any quest you have at the time, but still, it gives you a sense that this world has been lived in. There has been inhabitants, or there are inhabitants. They are doing their own things. There is some kind of life there, and there is the world is bigger than it appears to be. And this is one of the things I'm interested in computer games and art that comes out from this. Did it make any sense? You have questions?
I feel like Souls-like games do that really well. Like the unimportant details in games, like they have a lot of. That's all I have to say.
It's, yeah, it's different. It's not so open world games, the Souls games.
Yeah, not unless you're talking about Elden Ring, I guess. But yes.
Yeah, still, I think that Souls games are quite near to the genre that I'm interested in, that because there are some elements of role playing, and I think that the thing that is interesting to me, or potentially is interesting for me in Souls games and Souls-like games, is maybe the lore that is surrounding the world. Mm, there are some reasons I haven't played a lot of Souls-like games, and maybe one of the reasons is that most of the time I haven't had a computer capable for playing quite demanding games, and it's really annoying to play Souls-like games.
Yeah,
frame
it's,
rate.
it's impossible.
And I think it's an issue that keeps increasing as games keep getting bigger and more realistic, and the computers get left behind. Like, I got a gaming computer in 2018, and it's already like out of date by now.
I mean, that's an issue if you're playing mostly AAA titles, I guess. That's why there's a big resurgence of like indie games and stuff like that, and especially like the PS2 style, like the low poly style is coming back a major way, which is trying to make like the file size not so big anymore. So you can't play it on your computer.
Yeah, but I understand the problem, at one point you have a high-end video card, and next year it's already unimportant. I have a big faith in game streaming services like NVIDIA has. NVIDIA now is maybe the service. So you don't have to have a capable computer, but you have to have a really good internet connection. But still, I think it's maybe one of the solutions. Elden Ring is most definitely in my list of games to play. Reading list.
So for this work, I was just wondering, so was there any text at all about this cycle happening, or the visitor had to figure it out?
Most of it is a museum exhibition, even though it is a museum of contemporary art, and squatted room and a DIY museum, but it's still a museum. So there has to be some kind of communication towards viewer. All the works had etiquettes, and all the etiquettes had information in 3 levels. I think that the first was called beginner level, and then the last was nightmare level, and then the first consisted only material aspects of the work. It consisted of M10 nuts and bolts and full vinyl and wood and screws, and so all the components, and also Arduino, and then all the components were there in basic level, but in nightmare level there was a short essay about the work. So there was a kind of act of communication and explanation, but at the same time it was maybe not the most easily approachable act of communication. But that's okay for me. For me personally, it's okay. It's not necessarily important to make everything easily understandable, but I think that it is important to make it understandable for people who want to have another level of information. For me, okay, this is kind of another issue or problem. I really hate when I go to exhibition and I want to read extra information, and all information I have in the exhibition space is a press release. I have already read this press release. I read it before I went to the exhibition, so I don't need it. I don't need to read it again. If I need something to read there, I need to have some kind of other level of information. So I have tried to give some hints what the exhibition is about, even my personal exhibitions. Sometimes it is quite cryptic because I think that in this exhibition, all information was that it is a homage to Antonioni's blow up. It's a cryptic one, but again, all the information was there. If someone wanted to go into the artwork, where she could see the film and understand why this small element was taken out from the film.
Talking about your favorite video game or story-wise, what would you say would be your favorite game story-wise?
I usually prefer not to make lists of or top lists of things. Most of times when I do this, when I say one, I don't know, entity, it directs me to three more, and these everyone directs to three more, and so it's a three. They're not I Fallout 2 I was quite impressed about the story and how everything you did had consequences and quite big consequences. From recent games, Outer Worlds.
Other words?
Outer Worlds, not Outer Wilds. Okay, this is confusing. Yes, I know. Outer Worlds. It's action game in space where a colony of humanity has lost connection to Earth and is dying out. The story itself was gayish, but the lore around the world was really impressive. From recent games, maybe Cyberpunk 2077, but with reservations. The main story is not too good. Okay, it is okayish, but it's a bit predictable. But again, the lore that surrounds the main story is impressive, and then there are some secrets that people in Reddit have been trying to solve in years already. These are the three that comes to mind right away. But if I start to think about it, every one of these opens the door for next three games and so on.
ask that question?
Camille wanted to ask a question. Okay.
To come back to the relation you mentioned about artists and entertainment.
Okay. Part of art is entertainment for different reasons. It's okay. How much time do we have? Okay. Almost all of art has aspect of entertainment to, I don't know, to give us a chance to go other worlds or to have a contact with the other, to see inside someone else's mind, and it can be entertaining. But at the same time, as an artist, I can take a position where I'm not just an entertainer. I'm not just making people happy or giving a chance to escape from reality. I'm using these tools so that there is a chance for someone to think about questions I propose through the exhibition. Every art piece, and I mean art piece in wider sense, like also every piece of music, every film, every theater performance, every book. It is a kind of cultural text in different ways of communication, different mediums of communication. And okay, for example, Kurt Vonnegut, Slaughterhouse number 5. We can read it as, I don't know, comedy, as a light entertainment. There is possibility or a mode of reading where you don't have to think too much into the topics that are discussed there. Okay, Breakfast of Champions is even better example. It's easy reading in a way, but at the same time it is a quite complicated existential philosophy. And okay, there are artworks that are considered to be, I don't know, or valued more as art and less than entertainment. So I think that you can agree that, I don't know, most of compositions by Arvo Pärt are not easy listening. Even Spiegel and Spiegel or Fiorellina is not easy listening. It's actually quite demanding to carefully listen to these pieces. But we can find many use cases in light entertainment where it can be a part of it. So the border between entertainment and art is really thin one, and it is a virtual line inside our heads. But when I'm doing art, I'm not thinking so much about approachability and fun factor. Most definitely I'm thinking about aesthetics. I think that aesthetically pleasing work of art is a bit more approachable, even though the content of the work of art is maybe not so easy. So, okay, it's a non-answer to a question. Sorry, Camille, but you know me. I don't give straight answers anyway.
It depends.
Yeah, it depends. Okay, any more questions? You don't have to ask this right now. You know where to find me. So if you have questions, maybe the questions can be really easy ones that
I have one more question.
Yeah.
About the Fallout exhibition. What other works were they exhibited with?
Marko Laimre himself made two artworks. One was installation, a kind of weapon. A weapon inspired by Fallout and Stalker and other, let's say, post-apocalyptic first-person shooters and sci-fi inspired, I don't think. In quite many of these games, there is part where you can, I don't know, build things, crafting. There is crafting systems. There are crafting systems, and then it referred kind of to this crafting system. And the other one was a video about an avatar he made for Fallout 76. And he tried to use the avatar to tell a kind of story, non-linear story. There was work by Camille, or actually installation and a computer game. The installation consisted mainly of toy weapons presented as kind of kind of trophies or museum exhibits. And there was also a nonsense jumping game he made for the exhibition. You have to experience it. If he hasn't shown it to you yet, please ask.
I remember now. I actually went to that exhibition, but why I was asking was because I remember stepping into the room where your artwork was and being super confused because I didn't see anything. That was my first experience with that work.
I understand because the history goes further. Another sound art piece or I made. It's like that. There was nothing to see. It's just a room with 4 rectangular objects, which are hiding direction speakers. So if you are underneath the object, you can hear text. So yes, I'm dealing with ephemeral, non-existing artworks. There was also a documentary photo series by Martin Buschmann. Marco sent him to Fallout 76 as a reporter to take photographs of the world and lives of the inhabitants, player characters, mainly player characters. And there was a work by Keijo Maasik about book. But it has a confusing name right now. Player unknown. Battleground. So it's a nonsense name. And she played together one quite famous Estonian competitive player who is organizing a new exhibition and event in April 20th in Põhjala Brewery. And the work, I really liked the video because it was really good work about gender stereotypes in competitive computer games. Again, hopefully she will be here as well, and please ask about this artwork. It's a good work. For me personally, it was the best work in the exhibition.
Wait, who should we have next?
I don't know.
Oli vist otsustatud, kes on järgmine, aga me saame sellest.
But hopefully Keijo will be here, and hopefully, fingers crossed. So.
Mis kunstniku sa mainisid?
Keijo Maasik. Okay, so you Google. Okay. What was it? Okay. Yeah, Keijo Maasik on say. I really liked the video, and it was really food for thought.
Yeah, I was kind of starting to think that. Did we have any female interviewees listed?
Good point to check.
Thank you.
Then we should have her. Definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.